Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
Axel jam si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mo nulo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Axina Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. At Wave. Bisul mu fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
Welcome back, and thanks to Jar Oil and Wave for sponsoring appearance on YouTube. Let's return to my conversation with the Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, Mr. Boaz Saidi. This is a chat we had been planning to have since the beginning of the year. But a central bank chief apparently has more to do than a journalist, and so I had to wait until I could be fitted in his busy schedule. Well, that opportunity finally came last week, and I began by asking the governor to describe to me how the economy fared in 2024 and what his expectations were for 2025.
Thank you very much. I apologize for not having time or create time at the end of the year so that we can have this when the year just started. And this is due to some travels and some other official engagements. But here we are, we cut our losses and we are having it in April. But like you said, in 2024, the Gambian economy demonstrated remarkable resilience, because this was a period when the global economic environment that we are operating in was having serious challenges. We had volatile commodity prices, increase in interest rate in advanced countries because they were fighting inflation, and the dollar strengthened. Dollar in particular, we mentioned, our transaction currency mostly is in dollars. And why did it strengthen? Like I said, central banks were fighting inflation. In the US in particular, inflation, they had to increase their interest rate, the Federal Reserve Bank, to fight inflation as the low-hanging monetary policy tool in their toolbox. So because of the high interest rate, that attracted investors to the US market. And that increased demand for US dollar for investment made the dollar to appreciate vis-a-vis all international currencies. And then other international currencies depreciated. Even the mighty pound had a problem, you know. So because of those developments, the Gambian economy still performed and maintained resilience. And economic growth in 2024, by our estimate, Central Bank, according to our model, we call it the Composite Index of Economic Activities, revealed that the economy in 2024 grew by 5.7%, which is remarkable, given all what was happening in 2024. And it was well above the sub-Saharan growth rate. That means our peers. And another key pillar of economic stability in 2024 remained solid, and that is diaspora remittance. In 24, we estimate it to be $775.6 million US dollars. And that also helped.
That's just an estimate. That's not an official figure.
The reason why I say we estimate, that's the official figure. Okay. Let me say the recorded diaspora remittance, 775.6. What we estimate is the unrecorded, but that's different. That's for our balance of payment and other things that we use for analysis. But in 2024 also, what changed in our economy? Because of the strong remittances and other sources, tourism recovered, foreign exchange supply increased. And this resulted to a stable foreign exchange market. In 2024 also, inflation declined. Because in September 2023, inflation peaked at 18.4%. And then it declined. In 24, it was down to around up to 9.7%. So that was, and not only the decline in inflation, but the perception of inflation or inflation expectation also moderated. How do we know this? We carry out what we call business sentiment survey every 3 months before the Monetary Policy Committee meeting, and it is analyzed. And that shows that inflationary expectations also moderated, meaning people out there are now believing in the central bank's ability to bring inflation down, and that helps in trying to actually bring actual inflation down. It helps a lot. In 2024 also, the digital payment ecosystem also expanded. We had more fintech companies, and they were very active. I will show later in the interview when we get to that area that the number of registered fintech mobile money users increased significantly, and passing to passing, cash in, cash out was around, I think, is it 38 billion, something like that, but I'll give the right figure when we get there. Significant amount, which helped in reducing cash transaction. That is what we are looking for. In 2024 also, our banking system, despite all this volatility in the global economic environment or the economic ecosystem, our banks remain stable, profitable, and well capitalized. And this is in line with the central bank capital increase. From 2023, we decided to make the banks more robust, strong, and be able to carry out financial intermediation effectively and efficiently. The capital should be increased. Their capital from $200 million to $500 million. But this will be phased out in 3 years. So every year, 100 million. And the one for 24, all banks increase their capital by 100 million from 200 to 300. All of them met that directive of the central bank. In 24 also, the capital market, we created a capital market before, and it was there. Unlike our sister countries, in some of our peer countries, they had capital markets, but it died down. There was no activity. Ours was very active. We'll get to that later, but the activities on the capital market expanded. We had about $2 billion or $30 million transaction on the capital market. Foreign exchange reserves, holdings of the central bank also grew significantly. Private sector credit also increased from single digits right after COVID. It went down very low, under 5%, gradually coming up. In 24, it reached 18.7%. So, meaning economic activity grew. Private investors had confidence in the economy, and they were borrowing in large numbers. Now, in terms of CBG's main achievement, we were successful in monetary policy implementation. We were very proactive, given the headwinds in the global economy. Monetary policy was proactive, meaning we were ahead of the curve, not behind the curve, by ensuring that at monetary policy committee meetings, we gather enough information and make the right decisions by increasing the policy rate. Right now, the policy rate has been kept constant for the past 2-3 monetary policy meetings. And this has helped us to kind of control the cost of living crisis that happened in other developing countries. We did not witness that here. Like I said, our highest inflation was 18%, a little above 18%. In bigger countries with more resources, more wealth, more capacity in terms of human resources and the like, inflation went into 50%. In our WAMS zone, I have data from my research department. Right now, inflation in those big economies, Liberia is around 10. Now Ghana inflation is 22.4% as at March 2025. And for us, February, inflation was at 9.4%. Nigeria, inflation February 2025, 23.2%. Sierra Leone, it's 14% and is increasing. So like I said, ours, in September 2023, it was 18.51%. In 2024, by September 2024, inflation was 9.99, but our lowest in 2024 was 9.68%.
Excellent jam, si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do dede. Luta mënuloo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello? Ano lay waxal?
Bësal mu fine.
What?
Bësal mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bësal mu fine. Wave. Your money is yours.
Jar Oil. The company have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.
So a great 2024.
Yes.
What are your expectations for the Gambian economy in 2025?
Well, the economy is still going to face some challenges. Recently, as recent as yesterday, the U.S. authorities decided to introduce tariff the entire world, and we fall in the 10% bracket. And what that will do is going to affect trade, meaning imports into the country, because countries are going to now feel constrained in terms of buying and selling goods because of this tariff. Some will retaliate. And we are import-dependent country, an small open economy. So it's going to affect our trade and supply of goods to the country. So inflation is likely to increase. Yes. And also, it was not only trade tariffs, immigration is an issue. Their immigration policy, they intend to deport people, and Gambia is not an exception. And diaspora remittance, we have a lot of Gambians in the U.S., and this diaspora remittance depends on Gambians living and working abroad and their disposable income. So if that number shrinks, diaspora remittance is going to reduce. It may affect supply of foreign currency here and the exchange rate. But all these challenges is how we manage it. We've gone through from COVID, Russia, Ukraine, to some of these geopolitical challenges, is how you manage as a country and as a central bank. And we think we'll be able to manage it in a very prudent manner so that the resilience of our economy can be there, so that we will try to build fiscal buffers, foreign exchange buffer, increase those things, and deal with some of these structural rigidities in the economy. But despite those challenges, we expect the economy to grow by 5.9% in 2025.
5.9, almost 6.
Yes, 5.9%.
Based on what?
This is according to our composite index of economic activities. We do have information on investments, private sector, public investment, in particular, a lot of road building, plus other public assets that are going to be built, tourism growth, plus other factors, agricultural production. We look at a whole range of economic activities that are going to happen here, both from the domestic economy side and from external sector investments. And based on that totality of those evidences, our model came out with 5.9 growth. But because of the tariff, just before we start the interview, my research department did a quick one based on this 10% increase. Like I said, in 2025, where we expect the 5.9 GDP growth, it may come down to 3.3. But then
from
this
5.9
to 3.3. This was done quickly today after the announcement yesterday. We run the numbers again. This is what we imagine.
It's good that you're discussing it now, because it gives people an idea of how this will hurt our economy.
Our economy.
Because when you hear it's between America and China and the EU, you think, oh no, it's so far away, it's not going to affect us.
Even us. You see, these things, we are innocent bystanders. Look at the 2008-2009 financial crisis. When it happened, the emerging and developing countries, most of us, had no business with that. But as innocent bystanders, it affected us because it's a small world. Global village. This is what our model is showing. But this going down to 5.3 can be prevented. 3.3 can be prevented by way of how the policies we put in place before this thing hits us. I can tell you, when I was permanent secretary, Minister of Finance, when the COVID came, I went to finance as PS in February. When COVID happened, in 2020, March, it hit our shores. We went to our situation room to see what will be the impact in terms of economic decline. We were projecting a negative economic decline, meaning going below zero. But because of the fiscal and monetary policies put in place, plus other adjustments, the economy grew by less than 1% instead of a decline. So those kind of policy measures we intend to do to be in front of the curve. But this aside, in 2026, we were projecting that the economy 25 is 5.9 and 26 5.3 because of before this big announcement, there were other pronouncements from the US, and in the impact of those going beyond 25, when we project, we look at short run, medium, that is 3 years, beyond medium, long term, 5 years and above. We look at all those. Now, in the next 12 months, you ask, how do we see the economy going? This is something that we are looking at. Now, in 2025, we are also looking at increases in the activities of the capital market, because what we are trying to do is to ensure that access to finance, that bottleneck is now relaxed. So access to finance is something that the government is working on. And was it last year? Yeah, last year, the Minister of Finance, when he was, at the time he was presenting the budget speech at Parliament, mentioned that SDF is going to be converted to a development bank. Now that was actualized. SDF applied to the central bank to get a banking license, and the requirements, they met all of them, so we issued a license to them. And that license is with SDF to now be turned to a development bank. And that can easily be done because they have their own premises and there are other assets that they can use. they meet the capital requirement. So that is something in the train, is in the works. So when the bank will open its doors, I cannot tell, because we give license and the rest is for them to sort it out. And then, like I told you, we have the capital market, but we are planning to increase the activities of the capital market so that the use of the capital market will not be only corporate institutions. In this case, currently, it is NRA and NAWEC that are issuing corporate bonds. And also, in the next 12 months, we are trying to ensure that domestic production increases. We are importing everything and less export. And that's why there's pressure on the dollar. So we want to encourage production to go, both food and other goods, so that light scale manufacturing industry can also take off.
How are you helping that?
And how do we want to do that? The capital market can do it, but we also are working with Afri-Exim Bank. We are shareholder, Central Bank of the Gambia, in Afri-Exim Bank, and it's for African countries. Other countries are using it a lot. I know our neighbors are using it a lot, and we've seen the development there. They have a private sector window. Now, unlike the African Development Private Sector window, which has a minimum threshold, you have to meet that to access funds there. Our businesses are small. They don't have that wherewithal to access that. So we're working with them also. I'll come to that. What we are doing there is to get a group of SMEs or businesses. They come together. If they meet the threshold, we push them through. When they get it, the money, we share it among them. But Afri-Exim, that limit is not there. So we've gotten, we've gotten about 4 or 5 businesses that they are currently processing. And these are some are in, I would say, industry, some are into light manufacturing, some are into agriculture, rice, some are in poultry and animal fattening. So those ones, and one of them, they told me last week, they told me they've approved one of those that we pushed through. So when those people have those monies, you're talking about $15 million, $10 million and above, they can now grow their businesses, produce and export. So we'll have import substitution, manufacturing and industries on small scale that can expand, food production, like Jar Oil, Marrow Farms and others that are in rice can produce, and we eat our own rice. We import 275,000 metric tons of rice. At the time
every year.
Every year. When I got the statistics of this is from Africa Rice. We met here and they gave me that figure. At that time, we were growing 29,000 metric tons. So you can see what we are importing. Now it has increased because ADB is helping. I think it was last year. They came in before the rains, 1,000 hectares was grown. So rice production is going up. So these are the things that we are looking forward to 2025 to expand the economy and also ensure that inflation continue to decline, so that we are projecting by 26 we should be below our medium-term target of 5% and also maintain a stable exchange rate.
More from my conversation with the governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia tomorrow. Mr. Boasedi has so much to give. He'll be on every program throughout this week.
Excellent jam, si Wave.
Yo, apply. Yo, luta do de dik. Luta munu lo jël moto nga andil ma xaalis. Hello?
Bisul mu fine.
What?
Bisul mu fine.
Oh, yes!
Wave ak Gambia. Deposit and withdraw money, pay bills, and buy mobile credit without fees. Transfer money wherever in the country for only 1% fee. Ak Wave. Bustle mo fine? Wave. Your money is yours.
Jar Oil, the company, have filling stations across the country, and our rates are relatively cheaper than anyone else across the country. Jar Oil is the biggest producer and distributor of cement in the country with the most competitive prices in the market.